when a quiet janitor shields a frightened woman during a violent bank robbery. No one pays him much attention until the truth comes out. The woman he protected isn't just another hostage. She's Clara Voss, the elusive billionaire CEO who secretly owns the very bank under siege. And the janitor, he's Samuel Reed, an ex-soldier with a haunted past, hiding in plain sight. As masked gunmen storm the vaults, Clara and Sam form an unlikely alliance, uncovering that the robbery isn't just about money. It's a precision strike orchestrated by someone with intimate knowledge of the bank's secrets and Clara's own. Betrayals brew behind boardroom doors, a forgotten vendetta resurfaces, and a high-tech heist threatens to collapse a financial empire. But within the chaos, a silent guardian emerges, not for fame or fortune, but to right a lifelong wrong. This is not just a robbery. It's a war for truth, loyalty, and redemption. One guarded CEO, one janitor with nothing to lose. 35 chapters of twists, tension, and revelations. Welcome to Quiet Janitor Shields Woman in Bank Robbery. She's the billionaire CEO who owns the bank. They never saw him coming, and he's just getting started. The smell of lemon-scented disinfectant clung to the marble floors of Voss Bank's downtown branch, a silent testament to the man who swept them clean each night and polished them each morning, Samuel Reed. No one ever asked Sam why he started so early. They figured he was just one of those early risers, the type who didn't mind the hush of a pre-dawn building. Suited bankers and polished executives passed him without a second glance, their eyes focused on phone screens and agendas. To them, Sam was background noise, part of the infrastructure like the security cameras or the coffee machine that sputtered in the break room. But Sam noticed everything. The way Marla in HR tapped her badge twice, even when it worked the first time. How the branch manager always locked his drawer, even when he just went to the restroom. Sam's mop moved with methodical rhythm, but behind his calm, unassuming face were eyes that once scanned war zones. Afghanistan had taught him to read people, assess threats, predict danger. Civilians didn't, but Sam did. He didn't wear a name tag, didn't eat in the break room, no one even knew where he lived. And that's exactly how he liked it. At 6:12 a.m., the bank's automatic lights flickered to life, illuminating polished floors and empty desks. Sam was already on the mezzanine, buffing the handrails when he noticed something peculiar. A car parked at the far end of the street, its headlights off, but exhaust curling faintly in the chilled air. He narrowed his eyes. Odd for a Tuesday. The cleaning crew was expected, of course, but that wasn't their van. He filed it away in the back of his mind. Sam made his way back down, mop in one hand, earbuds in, but not on. He preferred hearing the world as it was, unfiltered. From the lobby, he could see the bank's grand foyer, its towering ceiling and crystal light fixtures making the place feel more like a museum than a financial institution. At 6:43 a.m., the front doors opened. A woman entered, heels echoing on the tile. She wore a dark wool coat and oversized sunglasses, not out of fashion but function. She walked with confidence, but her eyes, hidden though they were, scanned the bank. Sam watched from behind a planter, unseen. She was not a teller, not a manager, not a client. She was casing the place, or avoiding being recognized. Sam moved silently, reappearing by the reception area just as she approached. "Can I help you?" he asked quietly, the first words he'd spoken in hours. The woman paused, surprised. "No, thank you. Just here early to..." Observe, I'm part of Central Operations. Unannounced audits, she added quickly. Sam gave a slow nod. Audit? Got it. He let her pass, but he didn't believe her. She walked the perimeter like someone reacquainting herself with a memory, fingers brushing desk edges, eyes scanning hallways like they used to belong to her. Sam watched her pause in front of the corporate portrait wall, where Clara Voss's face stared back, high above the fireplace. The resemblance was subtle, but real. Sam blinked once. That's her. He didn't let on that he knew. She turned and gave him a small, unreadable smile before heading into the executive offices. By 7:10 a.m., the rest of the bank began to stir. The manager arrived grumbling about a late coffee order. Security yawned at their stations. Tellers filed in, gossiping about weekend plans. No one noticed the car outside. No one noticed that Sam had already memorized the license plate. At 7:28 a.m., Clara, or whoever she was pretending to be, reappeared near the central vault room. She seemed unsettled, and that's when it happened. A dull thud against the glass doors, a man with a duffel bag and gloves, then two more. One produced a sledgehammer, another a sawed-off shotgun. Within seconds, the glass shattered in a shower of crystalline shards. Screams echoed through the bank. Sam didn't move at first. He watched the attackers fan out with military precision. Too practiced, not amateurs. He turned to Clara. She stood frozen. "Get down," Sam whispered. When she didn't respond, he stepped forward, wrapped one arm around her shoulder, and pulled her behind the marble information desk just as a shot rang out into the ceiling. The robbery had begun, and for the first time in years, Sam Reed wasn't just a janitor anymore. Clara Voss hadn't planned on being here. Her calendar showed back-to-back meetings uptown and an investor call that afternoon, but something had gnawed at her for weeks. Rumors of internal discrepancies, encrypted messages from whistleblowers, and finally, an anonymous tip. "Your house is already burning, Clara. Check the basement." That's how the CEO of Voss Financial found herself in a wool coat and sunglasses, walking unnoticed into the bank her grandfather founded. Disguised as a mid-tier auditor, Clara moved through the branch with casual familiarity, but her eyes missed nothing. The vault's airlock system buzzed too often. Employees were jittery, and the back-office wiring new, unlisted in records. Only one person really saw her, the janitor. His gaze was brief but alert, recognizing her even under cover. She lingered near the portrait wall, looking up at her own face, the official image from 5 years ago. She had more lines now, more scars, visible only to herself. Then came the crash. Shattered glass, screams. Gunmen flooded the bank with weapons drawn. Frozen in place, Clara didn't scream. Her instincts were executive, not survivalist. But just before panic could fully consume her, that janitor, grabbed her and pulled her down behind the desk. The invasion had begun. Gunshots silenced everything. 5 masked intruders had taken control. With calculated efficiency, they weren't sloppy. They didn't shout more than necessary. One chain locked the doors while another dragged a wounded security guard into the corner. The tallest one, clearly the leader, commanded without flinching. Sam had seen it before, in Kabul, in Tripoli. This wasn't some gang, this was a unit, military grade. Under the reception desk, Clara crouched beside him, hands trembling. Sam scanned the floor layout in his mind. 8 visible staff, 3 public visitors, 1 CEO in hiding, and 5 armed threats. The odds weren't good. The lead attacker ordered all phones collected. A duffel bag was passed around, into which devices were dumped. Sam broke his own burner subtly under his knee and swept the shards under the baseboard trim. They were controlling comms. Phase 1. Next came the vault. From the corner of his eye, Sam saw the men adjusting something near the server closet, not explosives. It looked like a secure data transfer system, the kind used by digital forensic teams or intelligence units. Clara saw it too, and her eyes widened. They weren't just after cash. This heist was about something deeper. Sam leaned toward Clara and whispered, "They're here for information." She nodded slowly. She already knew. For a long second, no one moved. Then the leader pointed at Clara. "You, get up!" She didn't move. "I said—" "She's frozen," Sam said calmly, rising in her place. "She's terrified. You want trouble, start with me." The man's weapon shifted slightly toward Sam, but then lowered again. "You're not regular staff." "Janitor, floor guy, nobody," Sam replied evenly. The leader paused, his stare searching. He knew soldiers when he saw them, and Sam fit the mold a little too well. But for now he backed off. "Fine, then you walk her to the office. Do it slow." Sam helped Clara to her feet, keeping one hand on her back to steady her. She didn't resist, but she didn't speak either. Every footstep echoed like a countdown. Inside the manager's office, one of the gunmen started setting up a laptop linked to a hard drive. He plugged into the bank's main server with practiced ease. Clara recognized the tech. It was military-grade cyber ops gear. Whoever these people were, they'd planned this infiltration with intimate access to the bank's systems. Sam looked around for anything: panic button, paperclip, leverage. He found none. But Clara leaned close and whispered, "They want a file called Aegis Protocol. It's not just about money." He looked at her. "You created it." She shook her head. "Number my father did." Sam exhaled slowly. This just got bigger than a robbery. Back behind the desk, Sam crouched with Clara once more. The temporary relocation to the manager's office had only confirmed his fears. The attackers weren't after loose bills or jewelry in safe deposit boxes. They were there for Aegis Protocol, something Sam didn't fully understand yet, but Clara clearly did. The leader barked orders into a throat mic. A second team member, a wiry man with surgeon-steady hands, navigated the bank's digital infrastructure with ease. A second laptop booted up, tethered directly into the server mainframe. From their position, Sam could hear the muffled hum of encrypted files being decrypted. "We have 5 minutes, the leader muttered. Clara leaned in. "They know what they're looking for, but not where it's stored." "You sure?" Sam whispered. "I fragmented the file after the whistleblower contacted me. Half of it's in a dummy server in Geneva. They're wasting their time, if I can stall them." Sam nodded. "Stall them longer." A gunman passed nearby, glancing at the two of them. Sam's hand instinctively gripped Clara's wrist and drew her closer, turning their silhouettes into one behind the desk. The guard moved on. She looked at him. "Why are you doing this?" He answered simply, "Because no one's supposed to die on my watch. Not this time." It was only a matter of time before someone recognized Clara. One of the younger tellers, crouched nearby, looked at her for a beat too long. Then his eyes widened in silent realization. He turned his head, mouthing something to the colleague beside him. That's all it took. The chain of whispers traveled faster than gunfire. "That's Clara Voss, the CEO. That's her." Clara stiffened. Sam noticed too, his gaze sweeping the room. The attackers hadn't picked up on it yet. Then the leader turned. "What are they whispering about?" he snapped. Sam moved quickly. He stood up, drawing attention to himself. "One of the hostages needs medical attention. The woman's in shock." It was a lie. No one was hurt. But the leader's focus snapped to Sam. "You keep volunteering. Makes me nervous." "I hate blood." Sam lied again. The leader stalked over, gun casually raised. "You talk like a soldier." Sam smiled faintly. "And you don't." That stopped the man, just for a second, enough to buy Clara time to slide behind a pillar. The distraction worked, but only barely. Behind them, the hacker swore under his breath. Encrypted segments. Someone fragmented this protocol. The leader's eyes narrowed. "She knew we were coming." For the first time, he looked shaken. The failure to access Aegis protocol raised the stakes. The masked leader stormed across the floor, demanding answers, losing the calm precision he once held. He slammed the laptop shut and barked at one of the men to find the branch director. Moments later, a trembling middle-aged man was dragged from the back office. "Open the deep vault," the leader ordered. The manager hesitated. I don't have the biometric key. Only the CEO." He stopped. Too late. The leader turned back toward Clara, now revealed to everyone. So the rumors were true. She stood slowly, chin raised. "I own this bank, and you're not getting what you came for." He stepped closer. "Don't mistake pride for leverage, Ms. Voss." Sam moved. Just half a step forward, just enough. But before anything else could happen, a gunman called out from the security room. "We've got something." The leader moved quickly. On the screens were archived security logs, files from the past month. Each one detailed unauthorized access to Voss Financial's internal architecture. One in particular bore a signature, E. Voss, Elijah, Clara's younger brother. Sam saw her flinch, not with fear, but with rage. Sam whispered, "Someone let them in." She nodded. "Inside job." As chaos smoldered in the bank's main floor, Sam found a moment of stillness. He crouched behind a metal column, eyes shut. The scent of cordite in the air pulled him back. To Kandahar, a convoy ambush. Smoke, blood, screaming radio static. His squad leader was gone in a blink. A civilian boy, no older than 10, holding the trigger that ended 3 of Sam's friends. Sam shook his head. "Not now," he whispered to himself. But his hands trembled. Clara noticed. "You're not just some soldier, are you?" He gave her a long look. Was special reconnaissance, blackout operations, ghost work. "And now you clean the floors. It's easier to mop the blood you didn't cause." The sounds of the present came crashing back. The hacker cursing at encryption, the leader threatening the bank manager, and murmurs of Elijah Voss's name spreading among the robbers. Sam refocused. He'd buried his past in silence, but today demanded something different. These weren't just thieves. They were soldiers turned mercenaries, exploiting a betrayal inside Clara's empire. And Sam? He didn't run from war. Not anymore. They moved fast. One of the gunmen began prepping the vault corridor, likely to breach the secondary access. That meant time was running out. Clara leaned over to Sam. They'll find a way in, even if the file's gone. They'll take hostages or kill one to force leverage, Sam said. They're getting frustrated. We have to distract them. Before she could argue, Sam stood up and stepped into plain sight. Hey, he called. You said no one gets hurt, right? The leader turned. You're pushing your luck. I've got something for you. In the janitor's office. A panic override the key. It wasn't a lie. Sam had found a panic keycard months ago tucked in a drain, long forgotten but still active. He'd hidden it in a utility panel. The leader hesitated, nodded to one of his men. Go with him. Sam turned, leading the man away, closer to the back corridor. He passed by the wounded guard, the blood now soaked into his pant leg. He passed by 2 crying tellers, and then, near the supply closet, Sam moved, disarmed the gunman with a twist, slammed the man into the wall, and knocked him out cold. He hid the body fast, returned alone. No key, he said. Panel was stripped. They believed him, for now. Back behind cover, Clara reached for Sam's arm. You risked your life. Why? You'd do the same if you could, he replied. She shook her head. Number, I'd calculate the odds first. Sam gave a faint smile. I didn't. There was a moment of stillness between them, strange and profound. 2 people from opposite worlds, one with power, the other with scars, now bound by crisis. I didn't ask to be protected, Clara said quietly. I know, Sam answered. That's why I did it. Over the PA, a new voice crackled. Detective Lena Torres, NYPD. We're surrounding the building. Robbers, you're boxed in. Start negotiations now. The leader's face twisted in annoyance. Sam turned to Clara. That's our window. If we can feed Torres intel, we can end this before anyone else dies. Clara hesitated, then nodded. How? Sam grinned. Got any chewing gum? Confused, she pulled a pack from her coat. Sam used the foil to reflect light from an exit sign, bouncing a code into the camera lens hidden near the ceiling. A Morse signal, Sam's own unit code. Outside, Detective Torres stiffened as the message came through. Hostiles 5, 1 down. Inside help suspected. Target Aegis. For the first time, someone out there knew the truth. Detective Lena Torres hated surprises, and nothing said surprise like a hostage crisis in the heart of Manhattan's financial district, especially at the headquarters of Voss Bank, a name that had come up far too often in her off-the-record investigations. As she stood outside the sealed-off building, coordinating SWAT and forensics, a message came through, a Morse-coded reflection off a security camera lens, hand-signaled from inside. Smart, military smart. Hostiles, 5, 1 down. Inside help suspected. Target, Aegis. Torres frowned. Aegis wasn't just a name. It was a protocol she'd seen redacted in an interagency data leak, a system supposedly built to store global compliance skeletons, blackmail material. If these robbers were after that, this wasn't a robbery. It was cyber warfare. She barked into her radio, prep breach teams, but hold the line. We have a signal from inside. Military trained, likely not one of the perpetrators. And maybe, just maybe, someone inside was trying to dismantle this whole thing from the inside out. She had no name, no face, just a silent code. but she would find them. She always did. Inside, tension tightened like a wire. Sam and Clara stood just outside the vault chamber. The hacker, sweating now, was still working through the bank's digital defenses, only to find each file he accessed scrambled into worthless gibberish. "They're decoys," he said, slamming a fist against the keyboard. "This is all trash." Clara kept her face neutral. "We migrated the system last month. It's standard protocol." It wasn't. She was bluffing. The system hadn't been migrated. She'd personally fragmented and buried the Aegis protocol the night she received the whistleblower alert. The real files were overseas, hidden behind multiple fail-safes. These? Just shiny bait. Sam stood nearby, body relaxed but ready, eyes moving like radar. "They're stalling," the leader muttered to himself. "We've been fed half a plan." The hacker snapped back, "Then call Elijah again." That name, dropped so casually, made Clara's stomach twist. Sam caught it too. "Your brother's involved?" Clara nodded slowly. "He wanted control of the protocol. I refused. Guess he found another way." Sam exhaled through his nose. "Family." Behind them, the vault lights pulsed. A fake security alert triggered by Clara's key code. More distractions, more time. But it was only a matter of minutes before the robbers realized they'd been duped. The whispers had grown louder. One by one, the hostages began to recognize her. Clara Voss, not a compliance officer, not a mid-level auditor, the CEO, the woman who'd built the digital side of Voss Bank into a global titan and kept its skeletons under lock and key. "You lied to us," the leader growled. "You let us believe you were just another face." Clara stood her ground. "I didn't say anything. You made assumptions." "You were never supposed to be here," he said, stepping closer, his anger rising. Clara's voice turned icy. "And yet, here I am, while your plan collapses." Behind her, the hacker called out, "This data isn't real. It's a trap." The leader lunged forward, grabbing Clara by the collar and slamming her against the wall. "What did you do?" Sam moved in instantly, placing himself between them. "Back off." "She's playing you," Sam added. "That data's junk. Your inside man screwed you." The leader's eyes narrowed. "You know too much for a janitor." Sam smiled grimly. "You know too little for a thief." Lights flickered, an intentional surge. Outside, the NYPD had started poking at the security grid. Clara met the leader's stare. "You wanted a war," she said. "Welcome to the battlefield." Detective Lena Torres stared at the monitors. One by one, the internal surveillance feeds inside Voss Bank were going dark. "Get me cloud backups," she snapped. But inside the bank, the leader had already ordered the hacker to kill all video footage. "Too many eyes," he said, pacing. "This was supposed to be fast." Clara Voss, watching silently, spotted something on the hacker's screen. An outbound call, not to Elijah, but to someone named V. Her blood ran cold. Victor Lane, a ghost from her past. "You're dialing corpses," she said aloud. The leader glared at her. "Shut up." But Clara smiled faintly. "Too late. You shut off the cameras, but you missed something." In the server room, a tiny red light blinked beneath the wiring. A hidden routine, set by Clara, was live streaming every keylog, every spoken word, through a backup channel tied to Voss Financial's disaster protocol. "You cut the video," she whispered, "but I left the microphone on." Outside, Lena Torres's tech team received a stream of voice-to-text data. The names Elijah Voss, Victor Lane, and Aegis Protocol flashed on screen. "Trace it all," Lena ordered. "She's giving us everything." The robbers thought they'd darkened the building. Instead, they'd lit a beacon. As Clara and Sam huddled behind the pillar, her voice dropped to a whisper. "Victor Lane, I know that voice. He was my father's digital architect. Helped design Aegis, then vanished after the board bought him out." Sam frowned. "Why resurface now?" "He must have made a deal with Elijah. My brother wants control, always has. Victor has the technical key. Elijah gives access. These men, just pawns." Sam glanced across the room. "Not pawns, soldiers. But yeah, they're being played." The hacker barked from the vault. "Someone is intercepting our activity. It's not from inside." Panic rose. The leader stomped toward Clara. "You lied." "No," she said calmly. "You just underestimated me." He raised a hand to strike her, but Sam was already between them. "Try that and you'll lose more than this job." The leader backed down, but just barely. Then the vault's interface glitched. A single phrase blinked on the screen. "We see you." From across the city, thousands were watching as anonymous hackers echoed Clara's feed to dark web networks, whistleblower channels, and live leaks. Victor's name was out. So was Elijah's. The betrayal wasn't a whisper anymore. It was a siren. By the time the first drone circled the building, the hostage crisis had become a media storm. News anchors reported live. The mayor was briefed. International networks speculated wildly. But the tipping point came when Clara's voice, through the emergency backup channel, hit the public feed. A journalist repeated the line on air. "Clara Voss is alive. She's fighting back from the inside." Lena Torres smiled faintly from the command van. "She's not just surviving. She's broadcasting a war." Inside, Sam and Clara watched as the lights above flickered, a result of NYPD tapping into the electrical mainframe. "They're getting close," Clara said. "And the world knows the truth," Sam added. "Elijah's screwed." Not just Elijah. The Voss family name, the board, the entire foundation of trust propping up their empire was now exposed. The leader of the heist grabbed Clara again. "You think this protects you?" "It already has," she replied. "You're finished. Every second you stay in here, your options narrow." He pushed her away, rage boiling over. "We still have bullets." Sam stepped forward. "Then pick who dies, but make it count, because the moment you pull that trigger, this becomes terrorism. You'll vanish in a cell before breakfast." The leader hesitated, because Sam was right. Jordan Malik, a junior teller, made his way to Clara and Sam during a lull in the chaos. Whispering nervously, he revealed a truth that shifted everything. "That guy over by the printer, I know him, Felix Granger. He used to work here, IT department, disappeared after that audit scandal last year." Clara stiffened. "Granger was never fired, he vanished." Sam leaned in. "And no one ever changed his access credentials?" Jordan shook his head. "I don't think so. I saw him once rerouting server protocols on his lunch break. Didn't log anything." Clara muttered a curse under her breath. Elijah must have covered it up, bought his silence, Sam's jaw clenched. And now that silence has a gun. Clara added, "They have access, but they're not coordinated. Granger's working from a different angle." Sam asked, "What kind of angle?" Clara's voice was cold, personal. In the Voss Tower, far from the chaos, the board met in crisis mode. Elijah Voss appeared calm, too calm. "Clara is destabilizing the attackers," he reported, "making them lose control." "Good," one member replied. "Then we let her finish it." Elijah shook his head. "Number. If she walks out of there, she owns the narrative. She wins." "So what?" the chairwoman asked. "She takes the company," he said. "She takes everything." Silence. Then a chilling proposal. "She doesn't walk out." No one could quite believe what they were hearing, but Elijah had already acted. He'd sent a signal, code embedded in the bank's panic system, a pre-arranged execution disguised as a failsafe. He was prepared to sacrifice his sister for control. In the shadows of the vault, Felix Granger revealed his true play. While the rest focused on Aegis, he'd activated a buried script, diverting millions from silent accounts across the world into a private cold wallet. No one saw it, not the hacker, not the leader, not even Victor Lane. But Clara saw it. "He's not just after Aegis," she whispered to Sam. "He's stealing everything." Sam asked, "Can we stop him?" "We can log in as me. It'll tag the transaction trail with my biometric signature. It's the only way to trace it later." "You'd go down as the thief," Sam said. Clara nodded. "Only temporarily. I can take the hit." And then she stepped into the vault, face to face with Felix Granger. No more hiding, no more shadows, just unfinished business and the legacy on the line. The moment Clara stepped into the vault, the temperature in the room shifted. Felix Granger turned around, startled. He wasn't wearing a mask. His face was gaunt, pale from years in the shadows, but his eyes were sharp, burning with something colder than rage, conviction. "I didn't expect you to come in person," he said. "But then again, you always did enjoy the high ground." Clara kept her hands in plain sight. "You were one of our best. You could have come to me." "I did. Through that whistleblower. You ignored it." Clara's eyes narrowed. "That wasn't you. That was Victor." Felix laughed bitterly. "Victor was the messenger. I was the message. And your brother, he was just the one who finally agreed to light the fuse." Sam crept in behind Clara, positioning himself silently near the door. His eyes scanned the vault, one exit, two armed men outside, one laptop funneling encrypted currency in real time. "You're stealing from everyone," Clara said. "Not just me. Pension funds, mortgages, college savings." Felix turned back to the laptop. "Justice is blind, so I'm just leveling the scales." Clara stepped closer. "Let me log in. You'll need my biometric to finish the transfer anyway. Let's not drag this out." Felix hesitated. That was true. He nodded. Sam tensed as Clara approached the console. She pressed her finger to the sensor. The system chirped and unlocked a new access layer, hers. A secondary prompt appeared. Account signature confirmed. Monitoring initiated. Sam smiled. Clara had done it. A full digital trail now existed, something the international financial watchdogs would follow like blood on snow. Felix had no idea. Back in the lobby, chaos flared. Two hostages tried to bolt during a distraction. They didn't get far. One was tackled. The other, a woman, reached the glass door, only to be dragged back in by the arm. The leader stomped into the vault. "Enough games, we're pulling out. Pack everything." He glanced at Clara. "You're coming with us." Sam moved between them. "Not happening." The gunman raised his weapon. Behind him, a sudden bang echoed from the main floor, then another. Smoke began to spill through the vent system. Flashbangs. NYPD had triggered the first stage of their breach. Sam sprang forward, knocking the rifle upward as it fired. The leader's bullet hit the vault ceiling. Clara dropped to the floor. Felix lunged for his laptop, but Clara kicked it aside. "Run!" Sam shouted. She bolted past him as he slammed the vault door, locking Felix and the leader inside. Sam jammed a mop handle through the door's exterior lock. A crude delay, but enough. "Go left," Clara called to the hostages. Smoke now filled the main lobby. Sam led them through the emergency stairwell. Shouts erupted behind them. One robber tried to follow, only to be tackled by two brave hostages now emboldened by the chaos. By the time they reached the side exit, the building shook with a controlled charge. SWAT had entered from the opposite side. Outside, Clara emerged coughing, soot-stained and limping. Lena Torres ran toward her. "Clara Voss?" "Yes." "Where's your team?" "In the vault and one floor above." "And the data?" Clara smiled, eyes fierce. "Recorded, every byte." Torres nodded. "We've got it." Behind them, a last crack of gunfire echoed from inside. Sam appeared seconds later, dragging a stunned attacker to the sidewalk. "Next time," he muttered to Torres, "come in faster." She raised an eyebrow. "You military?" "Just a janitor," he said, brushing glass from his shoulder. Clara turned to him, her voice quiet. "You saved my life." "You saved your company," he replied. Then he paused. "Almost." Felix Granger sat in the steel interrogation chair, wrists cuffed to the table. The transfer had failed. His laptop was seized. The money trail was exposed. His name was now tied to an international cyber heist. Still he smiled. Across from him, Detective Lena Torres leaned forward. "You don't seem worried." "I'm not," Felix said calmly. "The people I was working for won't be stopped by this." "Victor Lane?" she asked. Felix scoffed. "He's just the architect. There are others. This wasn't the end game. Just a distraction." Lena narrowed her eyes. "What were you really after?" Felix met her gaze. "Aegis isn't a file, it's a vault of leverage. Blackmail, insurance, the Voss family's sins written in code. Everyone wants it, including your bosses." Before Lena could respond, her phone buzzed. A message from the NYPD commissioner. "Stand down on Voss lead. Federal agents inbound." She swore under her breath. They're burying this already. Meanwhile, across the city, Clara stood alone in her father's private study, now sealed by corporate order, pending investigation. She ran her fingers over an old photo of her father in uniform, flanked by intelligence officers and bankers, men who built empires by trading secrets. She opened the locked drawer. Inside, a faded dossier stamped Aegis version 0. Sam entered behind her. "You okay?" Clara turned slowly. "I thought I knew what Aegis was, but it's worse than I imagined." "What is it?" Her voice was barely above a whisper. A map of every secret our bank ever protected, including the ones that got people killed. Sam looked at the file. And your father kept this all hidden. He believed in protection through power, Clara said, even if it meant burying lives to secure it. Sam nodded slowly. You're not him. No, she agreed. But I'm about to inherit the war he started. Just then, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. The game isn't over, Clara. We still hold the rest of the Aegis files. We're ready to negotiate. V. Sam read it too. Victor! Clara's jaw clenched. He's still out there, and he's not done. Sam looked her dead in the eyes. Then neither are we. The makeshift command center in NYPD's Cyber Crimes Unit buzzed with conflicting energy. Half victory, half paranoia. The hostages were safe. The heist was foiled. Yet the deeper threat still lurked beneath layers of encryption, and Clara Voss knew it better than anyone. She sat across from Detective Lena Torres, nursing a bruised rib and a black coffee. Sam stood beside her, silent but watchful. Tell me about Felix, Lena said. Clara exhaled. He worked for us during the build-out of the digital vaults. Brilliant, obsessive, but he had one flaw. He believed the world owed him for being smarter than everyone else. He was already planning this back then, Lena asked. Number not the theft. But the grudge was planted when he was scapegoated for the audit failure. Elijah framed him to save the board. Felix lost everything. Your brother burned him, Sam said. Clara nodded, and Victor offered him a match. Lena leaned back. If that's true, then Felix was the tool. Victor is still the hand. So what does he want now? Clara held up her phone, showing the message again. Negotiation, which means leverage. He still has a copy of the Aegis files. Sam narrowed his eyes. Then we flush him out. Exactly, Clara said, but on our terms. 2 days later, the trap was set. Clara Voss made a public announcement, calm, rehearsed, and broadcast live from her office. In light of recent events, Voss Financial is initiating a complete audit of our historical security architecture. All legacy systems, including the controversial Aegis framework, will be permanently decommissioned. It was a lie, but it was bait. Sam stood just out of frame, watching the analytics spike in real time. Messages flooded the darknet. Half a dozen shell companies attempted digital handshakes with the old Aegis ports, one of them from a proxy server tied to Victor Lane's former firm. Hook, line, sink, Clara's cybersecurity team, reformed overnight into an elite task force, launched a reverse trace, embedding a Trojan inside the handshake reply. If Victor bit, they'd have him. Signal detected, said the tech lead. Engagement in progress. Back in her father's study, Clara monitored the mirrored stream. Her trap was working, but her heartbeat stayed uneven. If he knows it's bait, he'll disappear again, she said. Sam shook his head. Not this time. Men like him don't back down when they think they've won. They overreach. The screen pinged. A location. Zurich, the tech whispered. We have his system, physical nodes identified. Sam smiled. So what now? Clara stood. We go hunting. The footage hadn't gone viral yet, but inside the crisis logs, Detective Lena Torres had seen it. A clip. Silent, grainy, low resolution, captured from a partially active vault camera that hadn't fully cut out during the heist. It showed what most news outlets hadn't, a moment of quiet resistance. Not from Clara, not from Sam, but from the hostages themselves. They'd organized, not with words or weapons, but with instinct. The footage showed one woman, arms around a co-worker, gently passing him a pocket mirror. Another man nudged a fire extinguisher behind a support column. Tiny gestures, all unspoken, all timed. Lena paused the clip. "They weren't just victims," she murmured. "They fought back." She turned the screen to Clara, who sat reviewing security anomalies from the recovered vault server. Clara's face tightened with emotion. "That's Leon. She works in compliance. And that's Will, from the night desk." Sam leaned in. "They covered for us when we were locked in the vault. Bought us seconds." "Seconds we used to take the system back," Clara said. Lena nodded. "And now that we're hunting Victor, we need every piece of leverage we can get, including witnesses who didn't just survive, they resisted." The main floor of the bank had descended into a mix of tension and chaos. Felix had vanished toward the vault. The leader had become more agitated. The 3 remaining gunmen were now distracted, torn between guarding hostages and keeping track of the failed transfer operations. Lian Yu, an unassuming woman with a gentle demeanor, saw her moment. She gave a subtle look to Will, seated across from her. They'd been colleagues for years, never close but respectful. In that glance, a plan formed. Nothing complicated, just disruption. Leon slipped her compact mirror from her purse. At first glance, a nervous habit, but then she tilted it, angling it toward the hallway, catching the reflection of one of the armed men pacing. It gave them a sense of timing. Will slowly rolled his wrist, shifting a heavy stapler under the bench. It made a quiet clink. One of the attackers glanced over but didn't approach. He was distracted by noise from the stairwell. In the back corner, a third employee named Harish unscrewed a floor vent cover with the edge of his key ring. Inside, a fire extinguisher used only during safety drills. All this happened over 15 minutes. Small moves, almost imperceptible, but they added up. Then came the moment. One of the robbers turned his back to the group to bark into his comms, just as a loud bang came from the floor above. A signal from Sam and Clara, a planned disruption. Will lunged, slamming the stapler into the back of the gunman's knee. The attacker screamed and fell. Leon grabbed the man's radio, threw it under the benches. Harish sprayed the fire extinguisher into the air, creating a wall of fog. It was chaos, confusing, terrifying, and sudden, but it worked. Sam had returned just in time, tackling the second gunman trying to raise his weapon. A struggle ensued, brutal, close quarters. Sam's elbow connected with the man's jaw. The weapon clattered across the floor. Then Clara appeared, a security baton in her hands, reclaimed from the supply closet. She swung once. The third gunman collapsed like a dropped puppet. For 90 seconds, the bank wasn't a hostage site. It was a battleground, one in which the unarmed had chosen not to wait for heroes. They became their own. In the days that followed, national outlets picked up the story, not just of Clara and Sam, but of Leon, Will, Harish, and others, the hostages who fought back. "We didn't plan it," Leon said during a televised interview. "We just knew that we couldn't stay frozen." That single line became a rallying cry on social media. Stay unfrozen. Sam watched the coverage from Clara's office, arms crossed. They did more than most people ever would. Clara turned off the screen. They reminded me what this place could be, not just cold stones and numbers. Sam looked at her. And that matters now? It has to, she said, because when we go after Victor, we're not just protecting money. We're protecting people who still believe this system can work. Sam smirked. Let's hope they believe in it long enough for us to fix it. Clara nodded. Then we better not fail. The private elevator in Voss Tower had been disabled for 2 days, pending a full security sweep. Clara didn't wait for clearance. She took the stairs, 22 flights, up to the executive suite, Sam on her heels, their footsteps echoing through the marble stairwell like distant thunder. Waiting at the top, Edward Thorne, Clara's personal aide for the past 3 years, clipboard in hand, smile in place, eyes far too calm. "We've been expecting you," he said politely. Clara didn't return the smile. "We need to talk. Now." Thorne nodded and led them into the glass-walled war room that overlooked Manhattan's spine. Inside, screens full of encrypted emails, live internal audits, and classified access logs retrieved from the bank's servers. "You're probably wondering," Thorne said, "how the breach went as deep as it did." "I know how," Clara said coldly. "I want to know why." She tossed a tablet across the table. On it, a log of terminal access points during the vault hack. One set of credentials appeared again and again, never flagged, never blocked. Edward Thorne. Sam stepped forward, arms crossed. "You were the inside man." Thorne exhaled, not shocked, not even rattled. "Yes," Clara's voice dropped. "You gave them access." "Not entirely. I gave them pathways," Thorne corrected. "Victor handled the payloads. Felix built the triggers. I just opened the door." Sam growled. "You let them walk in armed." "I didn't know about the weapons," Thorne said quickly. "They promised it would be silent, no casualties." "No hostages?" Clara snapped. "No bullets? No deaths? You expect us to believe that?" Thorne hesitated. "I didn't sign up for war, just restructuring, a reset. Elijah promised you'd be protected. Victor guaranteed it." Sam stepped forward, his presence like thunderclouds in a glass box. "You nearly got her killed, and a dozen others." "I tried to stop it," Thorne said. "After the smoke grenades, I tried to reach out. The emergency override, the fake radio call to the lobby. That was me." Clara looked him over. "Why?" Thorne's shoulders dropped. "Because you're the only one who treated this company like it was more than capital. But Elijah's already moved. He's freezing you out. The board's in lockdown. And Victor, he's making calls from Switzerland again." "Then you're going to fix it," Clara said coldly. "You're going to testify, give us everything, emails, phone logs, access maps." "I can't," Thorne said. "They'll kill me." "No," Sam said. "We won't." There was a long silence. Then Thorne nodded. "Fine, I'll help you, but I want immunity." Clara started. "You'll get it, but only if you help take Victor and Elijah down, fully, no half measures." "I still have access to Victor's message hub," Thorne said. "It's a shell node, military-grade encryption, but I can ping him, make him think the transfer is still possible." Sam smiled. "Let's give him something to chase." Later that night, Clara stood on the helipad at the top of the tower, city lights sprawling below like constellations. Sam joined her, silent. "He betrayed me," Clara said. "Yeah," Sam replied. "But he also gave us the last piece we needed." Clara turned to him. We expose Victor, Elijah, and the rest, and we burn the rest of Aegis to the ground. Sam nodded. Then let's light the match. The clock had started ticking. In a hidden facility beneath the Swiss Alps, an off-grid data haven known only to a handful of elite clients, a dormant vault server lit up for the first time in 3 years. Inside it, the last untouched fragment of the Aegis protocol awaited execution. Victor Lane stood before a gleaming holographic interface, flanked by a pair of masked security contractors. His custom encryption daemon was working through terabytes of data, fusing fragments stolen by Felix Granger with insider authentication pathways still tied to Clara Voss. Final sequence loaded, the AI voice reported. Verification required. Countdown initiated. 23 minutes. Victor's fingers twitched. He turned to his associate. Start the trace masking. If we're detected, wipe the entire drive. I want no digital ghosts. Back in New York, Clara Voss watched the signal spike from a deep access terminal inside the Federal Reserve's emergency cyber war room. This wasn't just a private recovery operation anymore. Homeland Security, the FBI, and international finance regulators were all watching now. Countdown confirmed, said Lena Torres, reading the live telemetry from Zurich. They're initiating the Aegis master load. Clara's face was pale but determined. This is it. If he completes the sync, he'll have the entire map, names, assets, leverage dossiers on half the world's financial elite. He could control governments. Sam stood beside her, arms folded. What's our move? We trigger the failover protocol, Clara replied. My father built it into Aegis, a final failsafe. If the protocol is loaded without a verified biometric and voice print inside our home servers, it initiates a full logic bomb, scrambles the file down to the binary dust. Torres blinked. You're saying you can destroy it? Permanently, Clara said, but I need to be connected to the original node when the clock hits 0, not a second early. Sam checked the map. Zurich's 6 hours ahead. You've got 21 minutes local. We can jack into the mirror, said Edward Thorne, who stood nervously beside the analysts. There's a surviving uplink in Geneva, corporate disaster recovery backup. Clara nodded. Send the signal. Route through our encrypted relay. I'll record the voice print and biometric manually. As the team scrambled to prepare the uplink, Sam pulled Clara aside. You're sure about this? There's no recovery. Once you launch this, every shadow secret Aegis ever held, gone. Clara looked him dead in the eye. Aegis was meant to protect our institution, but it became a blackmail machine. If Victor uses it, no government, no court, no whistleblower will ever see justice again. Sam said nothing for a beat. Then, let's kill it. The satellite uplink came online with 13 minutes left on the countdown. In Zurich, Victor continued his ritual. The terminal pulsed with power. Final segment verified, the AI announced, awaiting final checksum. And then the system hesitated. An alert. Incoming, voice print signal, primary node. Victor's smile faltered. What? He tapped the terminal. A waveform appeared. Clara Voss, biometric authenticated. Impossible, he growled. She's not. Then the file structure began to warp. From thousands of miles away, Clara initiated the final command. Aegis override. V protocol. Detonate. In Zurich, alarms screamed. No, no. Victor slammed his fist against the console. Too late. The screens went white, then black. One by one, every encrypted archive exploded internally, reduced to unusable fragments. Names, dossiers, threat indexes, all vaporized. Sam watched Clara slump in her chair. "It's done?" She exhaled. "It's dead." The room fell into stunned silence. Torres finally whispered, "You just destroyed the most powerful tool in the global financial underworld." Clara looked up, eyes glassy but resolute. "I just set the world free." The Aegis Protocol was gone. Its destruction echoed across the global financial world like a digital earthquake. In the hours following its erasure, encrypted stockpiles of political leverage, corporate secrets, and illicit financial trails vanished. Gone were the blackmail folders that held nations hostage, the shadow treaties forged in data, vaporized by a single decision. Clara Voss stood at the epicenter, and now the aftershock has begun. Back at Voss Tower, the boardroom was in disarray. Some called it sabotage. Others hailed her as a hero, but no one could deny it. The empire had changed overnight. "Without Aegis, we've lost our firewall against competitors," barked one executive. "You've crippled our strategic advantage." Clara stood at the head of the table, unfazed. Aegis was a cage. It enslaved our integrity. We've reset to zero. Now we build a company that earns trust, not blackmails it. "You've destroyed our leverage," another hissed. "What if Victor resurfaces? What if Elijah strikes back?" Clara's voice dropped an octave. "Then we fight openly." She turned and walked out, not waiting for their approval. In the private elevator, only Sam stood beside her. The silence between them buzzed with unspoken weight. "You didn't have to destroy it," he said finally. Clara looked at him. "Didn't I?" "You could have hidden it, stored it safely, used it against the board, against Victor, your brother." She exhaled. "That's what they would have done." "And what if Victor comes back stronger? What if he rebuilds it using what he stole from Felix?" "Then we face him again." Sam studied her for a long moment. "You'd risk everything again." "I already did," she said, "and I'll do it again, because people like him don't understand restraint. They understand power, so I took theirs away." Sam nodded slowly. "You trust the world to thank you for that?" "I don't need thanks," Clara replied. "I just need one person to believe I did the right thing." He held her gaze. Then I looked away. "That's not how wars are won," he said. "No," she replied softly, "but it's how healing begins." Later that night, Sam walked the empty halls of the bank's flagship branch. The shattered glass had been swept. The blood was cleaned. The marble floor gleamed as it had before, but nothing was the same. He reached the janitor's closet, unlocked it, and stared at the row of supplies. It felt foreign now. Clara found him there, leaning against the doorframe. "You could disappear," she said. "Slip back into silence. No one would know." "I've thought about it," he admitted. "Every day since Kabul." She stepped closer. "Why didn't you?" He met her eyes. "Because I saw something here worth staying for." Clara nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "Then stay, not as a janitor, as the man who saved us all." He chuckled. "Are you offering me a job?" I'm offering you a purpose, she said. Something you don't have to hide from. Sam looked at the mop, then at her, then past her, out the window where the city pulsed with new light. I'll think about it, he said. Clara smiled. That's all I ask. It happened fast, too fast. A secure alert broke through Voss Tower's newly rebuilt firewalls. Unauthorized access attempt from inside the U.S. Eastern Data Hub, a mirror node from Aegis's old architecture, supposedly decommissioned. It wasn't. Victor Lane hadn't quit. He'd shifted tactics. Clara and Sam raced through the executive wing as emergency protocols began triggering across the building. Sirens wailed, lights dimmed. The server rooms began locking down on auto-defensive cycles. He's trying to backdoor his way through a diagnostic port, Clara said, breathless, watching the code scroll across her tablet. If he gets through, he can reroute our financial governance systems, turn the entire company into a ghost shell. Sam didn't say a word. He'd already turned, sprinting toward the sub-level staircase. "What are you doing?" Clara shouted. "Buying time," he called over his shoulder. Sub-level 3, Voss Data Core. The chill down here was different, mechanical, dense, humming with billions of dollars of encrypted assets stored beneath miles of New York concrete. Sam reached the master server and stared at the console, a localized firewall override blinking red. The only way to stop the infiltration was to sever the entire server chain. And that meant someone had to stay behind, manually initiate the failover and physically confirm the destruction authorization on site. He keyed into Clara's private comm channel. "He's in. You were right, but I can shut him out." Clara's voice crackled. "And not like this. There's got to be a remote way." "Number, he's bypassing every digital lock. The only thing he can't override is a human hand." "You mean you?" "Yeah." Silence on the line. Then, softly, "Sam, don't do this." Sam looked around the room. The concrete walls, the blinking lights, the past. "I spent years hiding in places like this, cleaning up other people's messes, carrying ghosts." "You don't have to carry mine," she said. "I'm not," he said gently. "I'm carrying his." He tapped the final override. "Destruct sequence initiated. Please confirm biometric." He pressed his hand to the scanner. The countdown began. Topside, 1 minute later. Clara raced through the halls, ignoring warnings and protests. She bolted down to sub-level 2, nearly colliding with a technician. "Get out of my way." "Ma'am, the chamber's sealed." "Override it." She reached the security station and smashed the emergency panel, overriding the door lock, just as the core alarm hit T-minus 15 seconds. The heavy blast door groaned open. Sam stood in the middle of the core, backlit by a wash of red warning lights. His silhouette looked like something from a war film, one man between the system and oblivion. "Clara," he said. "Don't," she warned. "You can't stop the countdown." "No," she said, stepping closer, "but I can stay." He blinked. "Why would you?" "Because I trust you," she said. "And I won't let you carry this alone." He looked at her, emotion flickering across a face that had spent years being unreadable. Then the screen changed. Biometric match confirmed. Secondary operator. Failover protocol complete. The countdown ceased. Access blocked. The last exploit, Victor Lane, had died in silence. The vault remained untouched. Victor's ghost was finally gone. Later, above ground, as the city returned to calm, Clara and Sam stood outside the building. "You saved the company," she said. "You saved yourself," he replied. She turned to him, eyes full. "I want you here, not just as security, as a partner." Sam hesitated. "I don't do suits," he said. She laughed softly. "Then don't." And for the first time, Sam Reed, soldier, janitor, ghost, smiled like a man stepping into the light. 3 days after the final vault breach, headlines across the globe echoed one theme: Clara Voss changed everything. Victor Lane had gone underground. His cyber footprint dissolved, and several of his known shell corporations were seized by regulators. But more shocking than his disappearance was Clara's meteoric rise from embattled CEO to symbol of financial reckoning. Social media exploded with support. Voss stands trended worldwide. Clips of her vault standoff played on a loop. A Fortune profile called her the reluctant revolutionary, and investors, some who had withdrawn after the Aegis scandal, returned with renewed trust. Inside Voss Tower, Clara stood watching the skyline. "I never meant to become a symbol," she said quietly. "You didn't," Sam replied from nearby. "You became a solution." She turned to him. "It doesn't feel like a win." Sam shrugged. "No good fight ever does." Clara nodded. "Then let's make this worth it. Let's rebuild something no one ever has to burn down again." With the dust settling, help came not in suits, but in purpose. Detective Lena Torres stepped onto the new operations floor with a quiet command. "I'm here to make sure no one rewrites this history." She was now the official liaison between federal oversight and Voss Financial, tasked with ensuring the reforms Clara promised weren't just symbolic. Sam met her with a handshake. "Glad you're here." Clara addressed her rebuilt security team that day. "No more shadows, no more secrets. We protect more than assets. We protect people. If that's not your mission, you're in the wrong building." Applause followed, not out of obligation but conviction. Voss Financial wasn't just back, it was reborn. Weeks passed. The cleanup revealed ugly truths: offshore bribery, whistleblower silencing, corporate espionage. Some board members resigned, others were quietly removed. Elijah Voss was never found. Clara didn't dwell on it. She had something bigger to tend to, an entire culture shift. One evening she sat alone in her father's office. She found a single note in his handwriting: "Protect them better than I did." She closed the drawer, not with resentment but understanding. Clara wasn't fixing her father's legacy anymore. She was writing her own. Clara faced the board, remade, leaner, and humbled. "You may not agree with my methods," she began, "but you cannot deny the results. We survived because we stopped protecting lies." She outlined her reforms: external ethics panels, open governance audits, a digital whistleblower initiative. "Voss Financial is no longer a gatekeeper," she finished. "It's a guardian of truth." The chairwoman stood. "We vote to confirm Clara Voss as permanent CEO." Unanimous. Sam waited outside. When she stepped out, he simply asked, "Did you win?" She smiled. "We started something. That's enough for now." And together they walked forward, not into the old world, but the one they chose to remake. It started with a name. After the vault incident, Clara asked for Sam's full file, not the janitorial profile Voss HR kept, the one he'd carefully scrubbed. She wanted the truth, and he let her see it. Staff Sergeant Samuel Reed, U.S. Army Special Reconnaissance, honorable discharge, 2 tours in Afghanistan, 1 Black Ops mission gone wrong, classified but known to Clara now. You saved 36 civilians under enemy fire, she said quietly, reading the after-action report, and you never said a word. I wasn't trying to be remembered, he replied, just trying to survive. But word got out. News outlets caught wind. The anonymous janitor who helped end the Voss siege was a decorated war hero. His image, once shadowed and silent, became part of the story. People called him a symbol, a ghost turned guardian. Clara offered him a new title, Chief Security Officer. He declined the spotlight, but he accepted the role. This time, he said, I will protect something that matters before it burns. The grand reopening of the Voss Financial HQ wasn't opulent. No red carpets, no champagne, just sunlight, streaming through clean windows and an open floor plan filled with new faces and new rules. At the heart of it all, Clara. Gone were the private elevators and isolationist board chambers. She worked out in the open now, flanked by analysts and advisors. The era of legacy secrecy was over. On her desk sat a plaque, Guardians don't lock doors, they open them. Sam stood at the new security hub, scanning blueprints for local schools and nonprofits the bank had agreed to fund with former Aegis reserves. You're redeploying the money, he said. Into communities, Clara replied. We can't erase Aegis, but we can repurpose it. Torres, watching nearby, added, That'll leave a dent in the darkness. Sam grinned. That's the idea. 6 months later, a child ran through the glass doors of the downtown branch, laughter echoing as she ducked past a man mopping near the entrance. The janitor didn't stop her. He smiled. It wasn't Sam. He was upstairs now in charge of an elite risk team, but he still came down sometimes, still cleaned, still remembered. A plaque near the front desk read, In honor of those who kept us standing. When the system failed, people didn't. Clara walked past it daily, her reflection caught in the polished marble. She'd changed, hardened, opened, humbled, but never broken. And Sam, he wasn't a ghost anymore. He was part of something. In a world built on secrets, they chose truth. In a system defined by silence, they chose voice. And in a moment of terror, the janitor stood up. Not just for one woman, but for all of us.